There's no there's no audio here? This isn't that's an interesting one. I'll just unplug it like that. There's no there's no audio here? There's no there's no audio here? This isn't that's an interesting one. Okay, there's audio now. I don't know why there's no I'll just unplug it like that. Voice. How do I? There's no no visual, which is interesting. My webcam decided to not work. It looks like. What a good timing for that. It was working just fine. Now it does not want to turn on. Come on. You guys, yeah. You guys can't see me because for some reason this thing does not want to give, my face cam does not want to turn on. And I don't know why. So. But in the meantime, it's great to see everyone. And I hope that, oh, because it's not a, okay. Anyway, I'm just gonna get going, and then you guys can just unfortunately not see me. So let's just get this rolling and see. Hopefully it switched my scene. There we go. So this is our storm. I was trying to make a whole PowerPoint, but everything got messed up because of the latest, or of this right here. So, and PowerPoint was not really working this morning on my computer. But I will go ahead and show you guys the latest update from the Hurricane Center. We are now at a Category 2 hurricane. Sustained winds at 100 miles an hour. Storm is starting to get a move on it, moving to the northeast at 12 miles an hour. The center of the storm is where the black X is, right here, 7 a.m. Thursday. And the blue is tropical storm warnings. The lighter shade of pink down here is hurricane watches. And the red is hurricane warnings. And again, we got tropical storm warnings on the west coast, on the far western panhandle of Florida. But this storm, guys, is huge. Tropical storm force winds are extending probably near or somewhat over 450-mile stretch across of the storm, which is quite intense. It's a very large and extensive storm. You can see we have a lot of nice outflow here on this. So we got plenty of outflow. Storm is breathing very well. And I don't like how this thing. I'm just gonna pause the dang thing because it just keeps on. Doing that, but I'm gonna pause it right there just so you guys can focus on something. But it is starting to show an eye. It has been doing that off and on throughout the night. But today is last night was gonna tell the story of what happened today. Yesterday, the system was pulling dry air into it. It was getting wrapped in. It was coming through the Yucatan Channel down here. It was getting dry air wrapped into the center, and as the dry air got wrapped into the center, it halted rapid intensification of the storm. Now we see that there's no open areas. There's no clear slots, open areas into the storm. At least on this imagery, I'm gonna go look at visible satellite imagery here in a minute, but at least on the infrared, you can see that there is intense thunderstorms blowing up on the northern eye wall of the storm, which is telling you that the storm is, in fact, strengthening. Now, it's a question to see what strength it is forecast to when it comes into Florida this evening. And we'll look at some of the model guidance and stuff like that. But it is running a bit east of model guidance, and that was what I was on the phone with DL about last night. I was talking to him about that. It does appear that it is moving to the east of the cone of uncertainty, as what they call that. But I want to do you guys a favor, and I want to show you guys visible satellite imagery here. Because visible satellite gives us the full picture. But I guess we'll just stick to this. So you can see that it is trying to wrap up. It is starting to really start to get organized here. Nice. You can see the nice motion that this thing has. Winds going in, being pulled out. Winds going up. Kind of doing a circular motion, right? And it's breathing. It's ventilating. It's got lots of support. The Gulf waters, I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. Looking at this on satellite imagery, this is absolutely gorgeous. Looking at that on satellite imagery. But you could see that the recent blow up on infrared, right in there, that is a sign that it is undergoing intensification. And once this gets completely clouded over, if that eye gets completely clouded over right there, it will in fact be a sign that it's fighting whatever and it's strengthening. But the longer that this takes to rapidly intensify, the less likely of a chance that it has to undergo an eye wall replacement as it moves towards Florida, which those of you guys remember, and a lot of people reference this with the Dahlia. I think it was last year. It came in a similar area, and it was moving up, forecasted to be about the same strength. But what happened was about 100 miles offshore, it underwent an eye wall replacement cycle. And for those of you that don't know what an eye wall replacement cycle is, it pretty much is when the storm pretty much replaces its own eye wall, and once it does the eye wall replacement, it usually means that the storm is going to end stronger. Every eye wall replacement cycle is usually a further increase in intensification. And when those systems undergo eye wall replacements, they weaken. Because then the system is dropping pressure, but getting its wind fields organized and getting the radars, everything aligned. So that right there will tell you that that's a sign that, or that's what Floridans want, right? The surge is gonna be very big across the Big Bend. The surge will be big. Given just how large and expansive the storm is, that's only going to help to push water further onshore. But if we get an eye wall replacement right before landfall, those winds they'll still be very intense, but they won't be as intense as what is forecasted now. Let's put it to you that way. But the longer that this takes to intensify, the longer or the less likely of that happening where an eye wall replacement happens before shore. If that makes sense to you guys. If you're looking for an eye, it's gonna be right. It'll be right in here. This is kind of where your eye would be, if we do have one. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the Hurricane Center so you guys can look at all this. Where's my Hurricane Center? Right here. So again, they got this moving at 12 miles an hour. They're still forecasting it to become a major hurricane on land by this afternoon. And then they did not put a dot out here on landfall, and I'm assuming that has to do with growing uncertainty of strength and wind speed once it comes towards Florida. Because yesterday and last night it was being inhibited, and now this morning it's full go. It's got extremely record warm waters in the Gulf Stream that runs right up the Yucatan Channel and up, passing very close to where this is at. So your storm surge forecasts, not the Storm Prediction Center, storm surge forecast. Where'd it go? Oh well, it's just right here. They're still calling for 15 to 20 feet of storm surge along the Big Bend of Florida. Apalachicola, they're still calling for they're around that fringe between 6 to 10 and 10 to 15 feet of storm surge. I know you guys want to be able to see me, and it bothers me that you guys can't see me, but for some reason this webcam's not turning on. Everything was working fine until I switched it over to live, and then as soon as it went, and then everything just cut out. Yeah, see, the face cam just doesn't want to work. I don't know why. It's very unfortunate because I want you guys to be able to see me. But just the face cam's having some issues, it looks like. So I know that's why some of you guys are not as in tune. But they're still forecasting. This is catastrophic storm surge. I've been talking to a couple of the people. They have told me that this is some of the highest storm surge forecasts that they've ever seen from the National Hurricane Center. And a large portion of that has to attribute to how large the storm is. That's going to factor a lot into additional storm surge in here. So, like Horseshoe Bend, Alligator, I believe it's Alligator Point. All these places are going to get massive pushes of water. All on the western coast of Florida, you see that they got higher storm surge forecasts than on the east coast, and that has to do with the fact that they're getting onshore flow constantly from this storm. So, and this area is extremely prone to storm surge flooding. This area right in here is extremely prone to storm surge flooding. Extremely prone. But I believe that they still kept their timings on the arrival, and we can go ahead and take a look at that. One thing too, guys, that I want to state, and I saved this purposely for this, and it looks very crowded, but this is nowhere near half the stuff I usually keep on my Radar Omega at the same time. But the whole state of Florida, a good chunk, if not all of South Carolina, upstate North Carolina, whoops, let me back that up, and the whole state of Georgia and the eastern part of Alabama are under tropical storm warnings. Hurricane warnings are in pink. That going all the way up into almost the Atlanta metro, not that far from Atlanta. That is quite remarkable. Right there. The fact that hurricane force winds are still possible within 40 miles of the Atlanta metro. That is quite impressive. But that is largely also having to do with the fact that the storm is getting pushed, carried away by an upper level low. It's going to help the system's going to be, you got a high pressure off the coast and you got a low pressure, and it's kind of going right in between them, but it's going to help to accelerate the storm north. So when you get the two winds of, like they're wedging, it's going to help to force that storm north, carry it up. And that's what we're seeing here. Is that. But anywhere you see the pink shading, expect those hurricane conditions are possible in the pink. And then if you are in the yellow, expect tropical storm conditions. And then the blue, these light blue down here, or this darker blue, shall I say, along the coast is storm surge warnings. And we already have tornado warnings ongoing. There's one near Daytona Beach this morning. There is one on the west side of, or to the west of Tallahassee. The tornado threat, guys, is pretty real too, and that's something that we are going to get into because there is a enhanced risk of severe weather across coastal South Carolina and coastal Georgia locations today. So pretty real tornado risk. And not only that, we got a high risk of flash flooding up here in the Smoky Mountains, which they got hit with rain yesterday, and then they're only going to be getting the rain more as this is coming up north. And I could try to draw a little, whoops. I can try to draw you guys a little diagram. But, you got a mountain chain right in there, right? You're getting winds that are getting pulled up and towards that mountain chain. Which I can give you guys some of my textbooks so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But that air is being forced over the mountains and then it's dropping back down on the backside, right? Well, you get that lift from the mountain. You get kind of that squeeze, and all of that precipitation, all of that moisture is just going to wring itself down. So you're getting excessive amounts of precipitation there. More, say that you're getting 1 to 2 inch per hour rainfall rates on normal ground. Up there on the terrain, you're getting 3+ per hour rainfall rates at times in here, just because you're getting that extra mountain momentum, the extra lift in source for that. And we do have and I will go over this again a little bit later because I do have some things I want to show you on that front, because the flash flooding threat is very significant. It is very real. Up there, and as well as on the coast down to the south in Florida and in southwest Georgia, and they've had lots of rain the last few days, and you're talking about the storm making landfall there and such, and saturated soils, not a good sign. So but anyway, it's great to see everybody here. If we go back to I got several things that I've been trying to look for that are interesting. I'm gonna look at the recent recon because I think there is a Hurricane Hunter going into Helene at this moment. Looks like so far they found the lowest pressure to be a 962 at this point. 962. Kind of right near the center, right where we were talking about. 962 millibars. But you can see that a lot of the stronger winds are on that southeast quadrant storm right there right now at this point. Looks like that is where the strongest eye wall portion is at this point. But you can see that they're right here, so they're making their way. They're going to be making their way back up and probably back in and doing a bunch of zigzags before leaving, going back up. And these are very important. This feeds into model data. These hurricane hunters give a lot of data for modeling inputs and such. Gives the National Hurricane Center live, up-to-date data. One up, but yeah, they're finding 962, and I can even show you guys the little. Let's see. This is live now. So this is into the storm we go. Again, it looks like they found 962 is the lowest pressure that they found so far today. With winds at almost about exceeding 100 knots of wind gusts. So that would be right on par with their Cat 2 strength that they have right now. And I believe they had 960 on the millibar. So either they'll keep it possibly 960 at the next update, or they may raise it a couple based off of that founding right there. And it very well could be undergoing a process of eyewall replacement now, and then it could be full go. Which I believe for hurricane strength, I believe you have to have pretty much near 100 knots of wind to get near that major hurricane strength. And in this scenario, you know, that would be kind of close to that major hurricane strength. I mean, it's already at 100 miles an hour. Major hurricane strength, I believe, is 111. I know that they put it at 115, but I believe it's 111 is major hurricane strength. So just tells you guys that this is not that far off from becoming a major hurricane. So you can see how they're doing their little passes right there. They're dropping all these little numbers are where they're dropping radiosonde data, and that data will get transferred to the National Hurricane Center, and it'll get into our computer models, which the models will become more accurate the more information that we have inside. Now, I was looking for a radar comstat because one way that you guys can tell, or that we could tell what the storm looks like structurally, is by looking at a microwave imagery here of the storm. And I believe this is a little bit of a forecast, but this is going by the last several hours. Microwave satellite imagery. It gives you guys a way to see, you know, the storm, how good of a center of circulation does this actually have? How good is it actually? How's the structure looking inside? And honestly, it does not look that bad. Now you can see the change between the forecast and what it's actually looking like, especially when it eats away at that western half, because we are not at 1 o'clock on the East Coast yet. So you can tell that that's a little bit more of a forecast toward the end, but you could see it moving generally up to the northeast with time, and it is structurally there. It still is trying to get itself fully there, but it's getting there. You know, it's there, but it's not quite there. It's almost there. Especially when you start getting those dark reds wrapping all the way in and around. That's what we'll be watching to see throughout the day today. And you guys, I could also show you the last 24 hours of this, and you guys can see that. Look how organized this thing looked earlier, and then you can see that it's now trying to get itself organized. You can see how open the system was yesterday, because you could see the dry air being wrapped in here, and then you can see that it closed it off. See how that kind of closed that opening off in there? So you could tell that dry air got in there and was eating away at it. That's what was helping prevent intensification yesterday, like rapid intensification yesterday, and it helped to just maintain steady intensification. So the microwave information gives us a lot of information on a storm, and you could tell why. And I was been explaining to you guys why and such. So, but this is from the Tallahassee office. Tallahassee office has been doing an excellent job with the storm. If you want to know where to find this information, I'm going is weather.gov. And you could tell that in the bright pink spots is where they are anticipating the worst impacts, are the worst winds. The most reasonable worst case scenario, what to prepare for. Anywhere in the red is hurricane force winds in the red. And then in the pink is major hurricane strength winds. So they're predicting that the National Weather Service, that major hurricane strength winds will make it into southern Georgia. And then hurricane force winds will continue to go up and up into Georgia quite a ways. And then in the orange is strong tropical storm force winds. And then in the yellow is weak to moderate tropical storm strength wind gusts. So but there is several factors into this storm, and like I said, we're just going over the basics necessarily. I'm going to go ahead and look at the latest hurricane models with you guys so we could see what those look like, see what they do with the system, and we can be able to tell how if they're stronger or not. See, right now, based off of the data that we're just looking at, the H-WRF is running a little. The H-WRF is running a little strong. It's running strong on the storm. It's running about 6 or so millibars high on the storm right now. The 12Z guidance will be coming out shortly, but you can still tell how it strengthens this thing up, makes landfall this evening as a 935 storm, which you're talking high-end Cat 3, low-end Cat 4 at this point. And then it takes this thing. I don't know if I definitely don't think that it would be a 955 storm up here. I mean, this is one of those things where the millibar pressure will be stronger than probably the surface winds, especially as it goes further inland. But good morning, everybody. Yes. Great to see everyone. I'm going over a briefing. I'm going over everything, or a good chunk of things to note. And I was trying to build a PowerPoint, but PowerPoint was crashing, and my GIFs were not wanting to load, so it's quite unfortunate. But whoa. But anyway, like you guys can just see how it's forecasted to just meander for a while. A lot of people have been talking about the Fujiwara effect happening with combining with a upper level low sitting over, I believe it's Arkansas, kind of spinning around each other when you get two strong low pressures close enough to each other. The Fujiwara effect, they can spin around each other. So, but let's see, that's just the H-WRF. Look at the H-MON and see. Still running a touch bit strong, but you can still see that it strengthens this thing towards a Cat 3 storm on landfall based off of pressure. But let's see, what do the winds actually look like? I mean, the winds look pretty strong, pretty substantial, and you can see that surge is going to be, that onshore flow is being fed into these regions. So I really hope that people that are in, along the coast have taken their evacuation seriously and have left. Because this is not a storm that you want to be messing around with. But then you see, look at the wind gusts. See how 956 storm, but the wind gust potential does not match the pressure. So the pressure will be stronger than what somewhat the or will be stronger than what the winds at the surface will probably be doing. Just to give you guys a clue, and that the strongest winds will be on the eastern side of the storm as it goes northward. You guys know that the strongest winds with hurricanes are usually banked up on the northeast eye wall, east-northeast eye wall, and that's the case as it goes northward. But as this continues to barrel its way north, you will see that the winds weaken significantly. It's a very powerful low pressure system, but I think the winds will be a little bit stronger than what that says, especially as it gets up there. But anyway, let's go ahead and look at the HFSA. A pretty, again, a pretty reliable storm. Our pretty reliable hurricane model. You can see that this one seems to be running fairly accurate at this point. 12Z 963. This looks pretty accurate here based off of pressure. But this does not, this model, though, this run does not rapidly intensify Helene here much. It brings it down at about 10 millibars between that and the coast, which I do think that it is slightly underdoing this a little bit. Jay Scotty, thank you for the super chat. I will get into the tornado threats here in just a moment. In just a minute, I'll get into that for you here. But it has the most reasonable time frame for or at least in terms of pressure, what this thing looks like. So that's the first one that I've seen that doesn't, you know, try to really intensify it on landfall. So that's an interesting run. See what the halves B has here, which this one looks like it's running. Okay, I guess that's not bad. All right. It's running about the same, so that's interesting, folks. This is interesting information right here. Some of the latest hurricane models do not try not to strengthen this thing as what it could do on its way towards landfall. But that will largely be determined by factors such as how fast does it get itself together? How fast does it get organized? You know, stuff like that. There's not much dry air being fed into this as much anymore, as you guys could tell on the satellite imagery. Oh, look at that. It is trying to form, it is starting to form an eye. More and more clearly now. So, I mean, in my opinion on this, the storm is definitely in a strengthening matter. The question is, it's running out of time to really get itself like, explosive. I'm sort of leaning, like, if you guys, I mean, I'm not supposed, like, I don't know if I should tell you that, but I don't know if, just given how much time that it actually has between now and the time that it gets to the coast, I don't know if it'll actually get to the Cat 4 strength. Time is its enemy right now as well, and that is a good sign for Floridians along the Big Bend here. But the surge will still be very, very strong, very, very high. Tuxedo Runner, thank you for the super chat. Hopefully you make it back to it. Oh, you can fly back to Atlanta. That was my debate, was you know, trying to get out in time if I was to leave, because like you guys know, my sister's wedding is tomorrow evening. And if I was to go to this, I would have had to have been guaranteed to be back in Arizona Friday. And I was looking at Atlanta, but Atlanta's going to get affected Friday. Is getting affected, so on Friday. So they're probably going to be closed down on Friday for operations on Friday, is my assumption. I know that Tampa International Airport's closed today, and they will reopen tomorrow when it's safe to do so. My one bet was Jacksonville, but I mean, again, Jacksonville would still going to be getting effects by wind. So it'll just, my safest bet was to stay here, which I'll talk to you guys more about that towards the end of the stream. But yes, this is definitely wobbling east. I do see that, Mike. I definitely see that wobble to the east a little bit, which is what I did mention that a little bit. So early on the stream, so we will see. But you can see that it is tempting very hard to clear an eye, to get that eye to be visible. It's working in overtime to get that eye to be visible, and you can see right there in the middle that there's a little eye peeking through, right there. So this is, whoops, yeah, that's a sign of it gathering strength. One of them. So I would Atlanta should be back to normal by Saturday. No problem. They still might have some delays, some showers from the storm, but I would think that Atlanta proper would be fine. And DL is going to be out there. DL will be out there covering the storm. That is the exact time, Asian Latina. That is exactly the right time. 5, anywhere from 5 to 11. I'm gonna go right. I would say right in the middle of that, and kind of go on the 8 to 11 scale. But we shall see. I know that a lot of the guidance takes this thing, or may not like that, but you know, pretty much on a track like that. But just watch it a little bit, because it could definitely wobble just a touch to the east more, and that changes the impacts or not dramatic, but it changes the level of impacts from over here to over here. You know, from Apalachicola to Perry, that changes the impacts based off of wobbles. So, but as Scotty was talking about, we should go into the tornado threat a little bit, and you could see, look at that sun shining across southern Florida. That is just building instability, and you could see that there's cumulofields developing here. Starting to develop, and supercells coming off of these outer rain bands coming on shore, strengthening, is definitely going to be heightening the tornado threat. And we do have a tornado watch, I believe, already out this morning. But just looking at the SPC, we do have an enhanced risk. Tornado enhanced driven across far northern Florida, including Jacksonville, coastal Georgia, and a good chunk of coastal South Carolina for that threat here. Tuxedo Runner, again, thank you for the super chat. We will have to do that, yes, if we are around. I know, like I said, I'm still in Arizona. DL is in Jacksonville at this moment, so. I mean, we shall see. But Mike, it's going to be a very interesting day. Let's just put it to you that way. It's going to be a very interesting day to see exactly what happens here as it makes its approach. But I do agree with you, yes. Very healthy storm. But let's pull up. Let me pull up. Oops, not that one. I don't want to scare anyone. I'll go into a little bit more. I'll go into the tornado threat. I'll go into the flooding a little bit, and then I'll ask you guys if you have any questions or not. And then if you guys do not, then I'm going to redirect you guys to the stream for today. So you guys can tune into DL. Obviously, I'll be in the chat quite often. I'm going to have a hard time focusing on what I got to do here because of what's going on there. But nothing I can do about it. but we use the similar products that we use for forecasting tornado events. Is the 0 to 3 kilometer energy helicity index. It pretty much is a combination of instability and low level shear. And you guys could see that there is, throughout the day today, particularly into the evening hours, it increases across coastal South Carolina, coastal Georgia, and far northern Florida in that enhanced risk zone for tornadic activity out ahead of the storm. You see that the storm is forecasted to be right here, and then you can see on the quadrants of the storm, the northeast quadrants, that that tornado threat is there. Let's go ahead and just pull a sounding out of here. You know, pretty good SRH on the levels of upper 200s, so mid to lower 400s. 3 Cape is exceptional. You know that a low level shear will be, you know, with these tropical systems will be high. The instability, this is forecasting about, you know, in the upper thousands to low to mid 2000s, which is plenty enough to get tornadic supercells going in an environment quite like this. And throughout the day this morning, it definitely looks like, throughout the afternoon, it looks like it's Florida. And then it shifts northward throughout, and with time, toward towards the enhanced risk zones. So I guess, like, the tornado threat, I would say, besides when the storm makes landfall, like in here, is, you know, will peak probably at landfall along the Big Bend and down towards Tampa. Will peak towards landfall. The enhanced risk zone will peak in here. Will peak toward the late afternoon or into the the early evening hours and throughout the overnight. And Florida, it will be a off and on thing throughout the day today, pretty much across a good chunk of the state. So I would say probably your peak is going to be in the afternoon today. Will be afternoon time frame for majority of Florida, with the exceptions of, you know, northeast and along the Big Bend towards Tampa when this thing makes landfall tonight. It's going to be my timing on that one. SS, it looks like it is nudging east, yes. It does look like it's nudging east. Tuxedo will be back October 3rd. Okay, sounds good. And then, I mean, like I've been saying, the tornado threat's pretty real. So, just gotta watch that along, especially tonight, along coastal Georgia and the Carolina and the coastal South Carolina, and then as this thing makes landfall tonight. But certainly looks like the evening and into the overnight hours, the tornado threat will be highest in there. And then tomorrow, the tornado threat does shift tomorrow, it does look like it shifts towards a good chunk of North Carolina, with the highest zone forecasted to be across central and eastern North Carolina, as well as eastern South Carolina. As the system makes its way northward in towards Tennessee, you're going to be getting a lot of that instability and shear on that eastern side, and that's why we got a large 2 and 5% respectively across that zone. And one thing that we always know with tropical systems, that the instability forecasts are struggling, or instability struggles with these storms. It does look like, though, that there is going to be a dry slot that comes in that could try to elevate that instability a little bit to get a slightly greater tornado threat up here. And I know that right now I haven't talked to DL this morning, but I know that his plan is to go down towards the coast. He'll head west out of Jacksonville, head down towards the coast, towards Tallahassee zone. He does not know how far north he's going to follow this north. Which I do not think he's going to be covering this tornado threat tomorrow. Given the fact of where it is, we don't have the Forerunner out. So, I'm just not sure that we're going to be able to make it, or DL's going to be able to make it up there. But I do think that he plans on doing he will be doing a stream today, and I think he's planning on possibly doing a stream tomorrow on the damage survey, I guess, quote. Shar, good to see you. I'm not with DL because I had to make a very difficult choice of, do I go or do I stay here, because one of my sisters is getting married tomorrow, and I chose to stay here. So without me knowing, I have a guaranteed flight back to Phoenix, so I can get up north in time. With question marks looming around which airport's going to be open, and can we get there in time, and everything else. And the possibility of being stranded somewhere, I just didn't want to take that chance. So. But, yeah, so DL will be going live this afternoon. I do think he's scheduled to go live here shortly, unless he pushes time back. Did he push his time back? No, he did not push his time back. So, he did not push his time back. So he's still be going live here shortly. So I'm going to go over the flooding thread really quickly for you guys. Look at some of the forecasts. One thing that's quite grimacing to say, like I said, we got that high risk, and as I was talking about the orographic lifting, but if I go to, oh, it's right here. If I was to go up north and look, high risk of catastrophic, life-threatening flash flooding. I know, Mike, you're not too far away from this, I believe. And like I said, they got rainfall yesterday. Now the forecast they get the rainfall today. I think this will become a very big story with with this storm right here. Is what's gonna transpire in the Smoky Mountains of northeast Georgia and upstate South Carolina and western North Carolina here. So I am very concerned about this, as I've seen. There's lots of flooding there yesterday, and that's just the beginning. They have to deal with now this thing making landfall, coming up and dumping torrential rain over their zone. So I really hope that people in here have an escape route for flooding, and I'm sure that they're not what's the right word? That they're not like they're kind of used to seeing a lot of flooding because they're in the mountains, but like it's not a unfamiliar sight, not unfamiliar territory with people. I hope, but this is something you gotta take seriously. And I believe that the model guidance has significant rainfall amounts there. I was trying to find. I have to go to Greenberg. Wait, am I in the Greenberg Spartan? I am. Last night they were given their. Man, they did not do this as yesterday. They had a full rainfall map of precipitation that they were expecting. But I mean, you can see double-digit rainfall is possible up in those areas as they got hit really hard yesterday. So again, I'm extremely concerned with upstate South Carolina, or with northeast Georgia and upstate South Carolina and western North Carolina. And this is not going to be just a couple of, like a today thing either. They have a moderate risk of flooding tomorrow. But I mean, look, you're already seeing double-digit rains. So that's kind of where I'm very worried about that. Usually when you start seeing these type of rainfall totals in mountainous terrain, then you're going to start seeing, and you're going to get some big problems. And again, I just hope for these people that does not materialize quite like it could. Shar, thank you for the super sticker. But I mean, they're not the only people that are going to be affected by this by flooding either. Look at what's going on. Look at the Ohio Valley. They're getting in some rain down there too with this. So, again, really worried about these mountain terrain right there. Really worried about that mountain. Again, I'll explain it for some of you folks that were not here earlier. You got very rich tropical air mass coming on top of those mountains, and it's pretty much being lifted onto those mountains. The air is being lifted up, so that when you get the air to lift up on the mountain, it acts as like a sponge, essentially. Like you take in the water and wringing it out. That's exactly what this does. You get that tropical air mass in here. Get upslope. Get that upslope regime there. That gets forced up. it's all the precip, and you can see that there is not as much precip forecasted on the downwind side of these mountains. And that's usually a result of when you get those upslope winds. Sometimes you get those downslope, the downslope drying effect a little bit. So as areas all around there that are going to be seeing, 5+, this area may receive, 1 to 2 inches of rain in here just because of that effect. So the flooding time frame would be pretty much from this evening and lasting through the day tomorrow, overnight tonight and through tomorrow, as I believe is going to be your highest flood threat in upstate North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, and northeast Georgia on there. So again, if you know anyone in those areas, I really hope that they have a flood plan in here and they know where to go. Because, I mean, like, you're talking 17 inch plus. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple, like a report of 20 in here. And there's one more thing that I wanted to show you on this, and it's this loop. It's a loop of the total precipitation, like the precipitable water values in the atmosphere. Gosh dang it, it's not gonna play. Man, it was doing it so good. You guys can see that that hurricane is down to the south. You guys can see the hurricane. It's saying hello. Right here. Making its presence known. But I mean, you're talking over 2 to 3 inch precipitable water values going up on that terrain. So I wish that this would load. Hello. You were doing perfectly fine earlier, and then all of a sudden you didn't want to work. But look at that. It kind of displays an eye wall right there. Look at the eye of the hurricane that it tries to display on that precipitable water. That's impressive. Look at that signature. So, whoops. Anyway, my 2 cents. Like I said, it's gonna go up onto the terrain, get all the way up there. You're easily exceeding 2 to 3 inch precipitable water values. That is going to lead to some very serious flooding, and you can see the tropical connection being brought up and in right here. You can see this tongue of moisture being brought up and in from the tropics. Very nice river of moisture forecasted to come up and in there. So flooding threat this evening is pretty much on the Florida Peninsula, or in the Florida Peninsula and the Big Bend with the landfall. Then comes the mountainous terrain in the overnight and tomorrow. So I know it's unfortunate. I know a lot of people, left because they couldn't see my face, but my webcam for some reason decided to glitch out. So, I think we covered a decent amount. Let's see. There is increasing confidence in catastrophic or potentially unsurvivable storm surge for Appalachia Bay. Storm surge may begin as early as this afternoon ahead of the strongest winds building through landfall. Storm surge values are forecasted to be 10 or 15 to 20 feet, 10 to 15 feet, 6 to 10 feet, 3 to 5 feet, 1 to 3 feet. So pretty strong wording from the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. So I really hope that people take that seriously. So go ahead and look at the satellite imagery again. The eye that was trying to make an appearance got clouded up yet again. So we shall see what this does, but yeah, so do you guys have any questions about this? About anything that I went over? Again, I would have liked to have done a PowerPoint, but my PowerPoint on my computer was not functioning this morning. Application. So let's see, where's the hurricane hunters? Have they been in here? They're making their second pass now. You can definitely tell that the eastern side of the storm is the strongest part. The strongest winds are located on that eastern half. I did not know the stream. What is this advertisement down here? But I did not know that, but I appreciate you letting me know. Thank you. So I did not see that cat earlier, so let's see. So I mean, they're finding a few areas of localized area of near 100 knots of wind. So we shall see what the National Hurricane Center does at the latest update, which we do. Oh, wait. I might have that for you. Let's see. Nope, I do not. Oh, yeah, they bumped it up. There we go. It's up to 105 miles an hour now. Helene strengthening, expected to make landfall this evening as a major hurricane. So they did bump up the storm there. They have maximum sustained winds at 105, 90 knots, pressure 960, moving north-northeast at 14 miles an hour. Chance of tornadoes, big or small? I'd say that it's a decent chance. Always a chance for strong or for tornadoes with landfalling tropical cyclones, but this one will have a stronger effect, especially over northeast Florida, coastal Georgia, and coastal South Carolina. So this is the newest update from the National Hurricane Center. So I'll leave you with this. Look at how far those hurricane winds extend out of the storm. Those hurricane force winds are in the lighter shade of orange, and then the darker shade of orange, like that brownish color, excuse me. But that lighter shade of orange is the tropical storm force winds. Those have got to be over 450 miles wide, extending out of the storm. That's why everyone's going to be affected by it as it moves north with time. So yes, there are already supercells with tornadoes going now, so, or going on. So but we will be monitoring the whole day. Again, I really hope that you guys go and watch DL. He needs all the support that he needs. He needs you guys all there to and you know others. He's out there. It's quite an expense to get out there, especially since we booked it last minute because DL came back from Oregon Tuesday, and he flew out. He literally was home for one night and left, and was rushed out of the house. So. But again, I'm sorry you guys cannot see my face. But I will also leave you with this. There has been some guidance trending toward another storm, possibly in about another week. And I'm going to leave you with this, just to put the thought in your mind that maybe another gyre event could gyre storm. And it would be around... The GFS shows another storm in the first week of October. So just so you guys are aware that hurricane season is not over after the storm. So I'll leave you all with that. I'm not spreading theories, but the models are showing another one. So another storm per se. Not the first time that they've hinted at that either. So you just got to watch that. But yeah, I told everyone, everyone told me that I predicted the hurricane 3 months ago. So I told everyone I should have put a forecast video out, you know, months ahead of time. That something like people would have had a lot of warning to expect some storm along the Gulf Coast or something like that. 3 months ago, everyone would have been like, "What are you talking about?" Well, look at the time frame and look at the date. So we will talk about this one more when it is time to talk about that one. But in the meantime, we got to focus on one storm at a time. That is Helene barreling its way towards Florida. So I knew it too, folks. I knew something was going to happen. I knew something was going to happen around this time. I just knew it. So, see, did DL... Let's see, did he delay his... Did he delay it? Or did he still... He delayed it at the half an hour? Gosh dang it, DL. Why'd you do that? Alright. Anyway, I'm going to send you guys over there if you guys do not have any more questions. I think we did a pretty good, thorough analysis of this. There's not. It's all it has. It's time against it. It's time against the clock on it. Essentially, there's not much shear in the environment. There's not a lot of it's a large enough storm now where dry air should not really be much of an issue anymore. So it's only fighting against itself. But I mean, there still could be some dry air trying to get in there. But I mean, I guess if you're just nitpicking at that point. So. Of course, now it won't let me load my chat with you guys. Oh, wow. Hold on. Hold on, guys. This actually, I just got some. I just looked at something. This is dry. There very well could be dry air getting wrapped back in here. This very well could be dry air. So Florida. So we gotta watch the intensity guidance. But Florida, I mean, there's some dry air getting wrapped in. So I didn't think they would have much of an effect anymore. But hopefully that's a sign that that's a good sign for Florida. Hopefully that continues. Hopefully that continues. And you know what? I'll mention one more thing. I always do this. I always do this to you guys. But look at this is Hurricane John over in the Eastern Pacific. It made landfall as a Cat 3 the other night down in here. I think it was down here. Maybe I'm wrong. But it made landfall the other night, and it came back out, re-strengthened itself into another hurricane. It very well could do the same thing again for a third time. So be prepared in case, you know, like if you hear anything about Hurricane John strengthens back up into something or reforms for a third time. Just be prepared for that. Because Mexico has been getting absolutely slammed by this storm. So just be, you know, this is already going to be number 2, but I would not be surprised if it gets into Mexico, comes back out to ocean, reforms itself, and then goes back in for a third time. It's definitely possible. Those poor people down in Acapulco have been hit very hard. But anyway, oops. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope you guys stay safe. And I'll be talking to you guys in DL's chat. Okay? Because I don't see any questions in here. So. All right. See you guys in DL stream, guys.